about is all bullshit. Bullshit? I don't think so. Didn't I tell you I'd figure out another way to get out of here? This is it. Why the hell would you do something like this? Junpei glanced at June. Jumpy, you did this just so you could go through the same door as June? That's it? Santa was furious. His face was red, and flecks of spit flew from his lips as he spoke. So, Santa's 3, 4, and Ace is 8, so everyone could have just gone, you know? I don't know what they were being stupid about. Whatever. No, actually, no one could have gone because it would be only Santa and Ace. Oh.
I don't know.
Anyway, whatever. Santa was furious. His face was red and flecks of spit flew from his lips as he spoke. Junpei closed his eyes calmly and then opened them again. So, who is it going to be? Santa or Lotus and Clover? Lotus is 8, Clover's 4, that's 12. Oh, that doesn't work. No, I think 5 people was the limit. You could read. Yes, 5 people is the limit. Shit. No, you're completely right. I'm just thinking that for the other room, but Santa, Clover, and Ace would need to be there, or it would be Lotus and Clover would be 12. 12? Yes, 12. So it would be 3. So Ace would be 4. So they would need a 4 room. So it's basically either Santa stays behind, or Lotus and Clover stay behind, but not all 3 or 4 or 2 of them can go forward. We're going. Clover. Oh, look at that action shot. Lotus leapt forward. She grabbed Clover by the sleeve and ran for Junpei and the door. Caught by surprise, Santa froze for a moment and shot forward like a bullet from a gun. Lotus had a head start, but Santa had the advantage in size and speed. Almost immediately, he passed Lotus and Clover. No! Wait! Santa did not hesitate. Urgh! He slammed his hand down on the red.
Is there a specific part of the action shot you're talking about?
Just like the whole movement.
The whole thing?
Yeah. This is insane. This isn't right. He glared at Junpei, his chest heaving. Damn, why wasn't that animated? I know, right, Clever? Yes, well, you may be right. Junpei's voice was cold, but not without effort.
Honestly, by the way they seemed to be moving in that image, you wouldn't have just seen the jiggles. They would have come right out.
I don't think they would have. They would have. I think
they looked like they were already on their way out.
Depends on how good her bra is.
I guess.
She could be wearing a really good bra.
Assuming she's even wearing a bra.
She is. Don't give me that. He turned to the red and pulled the lever. With the sound of metal on metal, the door opened. It would only remain so for 9 seconds. There was no time to think. Go! Junpei and his 3 reluctant companions jumped into the door's gaping mouth, one after another. No sooner did they enter than an all-too-familiar noise sounded from their left wrist. The detonators had activated. Junpei looked back only once, and saw Lotus and Clover on the other side of the closing door. They stood still, stopped where they had been when Santa reached the red. The defeat and desperation on their faces tore at Junpei's heart. I died on the 4th night. I think I did pretty good. Nice.
Technically, couldn't they have just not gone through?
Yes, they could have, but then they would kill someone else. Then the door closed.
What do you mean?
And they were gone. Oh, okay. So, this is the situation of what happened to the 9th man. What happened to the 9th man was that he thought that if everyone activated it and someone went through, in this case, Junpei and June would go through no matter what. Because probably that's how Junpei wanted it, and he probably grabbed his hand and walked into the door, you know, like walked through the doorway. So if the other two didn't go, and the door closed, in 81 seconds, they would have died because of the detonator.
Who? The people who went through, or the people
who went through?
What I'm saying is they could have just let him pull the thing and then just like pushed him out of the way and not gone through the door and done it in a way that wasn't stupid.
That's not how this game works. And I'm doing this specifically because I want to show something, so. Then the door closed, and they were gone. You son of a bitch, Junpei, this isn't fair! Santa rounded on Junpei, lightning crackling in his eyes and his knuckles white. Do you realize what you just did? You leave them out there and they can't... Shut it! That's enough! It hadn't been Junpei that spoke, but 7. You gotta find the dead, or none of this is gonna matter. The clock was ticking. The dead was their only chance to survive. Survival. Same thing, you know. Unless they could find it and deactivate their detonators, the 4 of them would be... We got less than a minute left. No time for screwing around. Get moving. They scattered and began to scour the room. The deactivation device was nowhere to be found. Corridors stretched out in 3 directions, but every one was blocked off by a wall of metal. There was only one way out. One other door. There! 7 ran for the door, a rusty iron thing, his large hands grabbing hold of the handle and pulled. The room inside was pitch black. They could see nothing beyond the small patch of light that spilled through the doorway. Junpei stuck his head through the door and looked around the room. Almost immediately, he spotted the blinking red light on the wall. On the right wall. I found it. The dead's right over here. He stepped into the room and nearly fell down. The room was slippery. What? He stopped and glanced down at his feet. What was... Hey, what the hell are you doing? Get over there! Junpei felt 7's heavy hand against his back and stumbled across the room.
Cleffa, what are you quoting?
It's time to get moving, time for us to have some fun. There's no time to hang around. Adventure's just begun!
What?
It's adventure time? I think.
Is it?
I don't
No?
think. I don't know. I don't remember! I know it, but I don't remember from what I know it. Ugh. Also, my 3DS is in red, so... So let me do this. There we go. Just the other 3 piled in behind him. They all felt immediately that something was wrong. Nothing that could be easily identified, only a sense that something will be thinking about our friends as we chase the setting sun. What is it? I don't remember, Cleffa! I don't remember. Is it? We're on the run. Oh Jesus, okay. That's where we... Cleffa, don't do this to us! Especially in an action scene right now. Nothing could be easily identified, but only a sense that something terrible shared the room with them. But there was no time to say so. Quick! Get to the dead! They all started running. In the dark, it was hard to tell where the wall was. All they could see was a tiny red light blinking at them over and over and over. And then finally, suddenly, they were there.
Oh.
In quick succession, they all slammed their hands against the scanner panel. Yeah, I remember Amethyst lines, but that's about it. Like, everything else did seem like something I remember? But that's it. Seven leaned against the wall, gulping air. As his breathing began to return to normal, he glanced at his left wrist and grunted. It stopped. It stopped. Junpei could hear him laughing in the dark, but could barely make out the larger man's face. What the? Ugh. The sound of retching came from Santa's direction. What the hell is this smell? This is vile. I'm gonna puke. Technically, it is vile. So desperate had they been in their race to the dead that no one had noticed the horrible smell that pervaded the room. It was terrible, nauseating stench, like burnt and rotten meat. Adrenaline had drowned it out, but now it rolled over Junpei in waves, forcing itself into his nose and every breath he took. He felt his stomach clench, and bile rise up in his throat. It's just the other bile. Let's get the lights on first. There's a switch over here. The light that spilled in the door barely illuminated a small switch plate next to the door. Slowly, with the toll of the last few minutes apparent in his gait, Seven walked toward it. You'd be so glad you cannot hear this game, Ed.
Why?
Because you'll know. He stopped as he got close and extended his fingers towards the switch. There was a soft click as the lights came on. It had scarcely faded when another noise pierced the air. A scream. Junpei's breath stopped in his throat. His heart ceased to beat. Time froze. His mind scrambled to make sense of what he saw before him. What was left of the body sat in a sea of blood. Chunks of flesh, torn from the body, sat in the blood like tiny islands in a great red sea. Yeah, very much ew. Basically, it was like footsteps, but then made the sound of like you going through mud, but it was blood. So ugh. A vast ragged hole had been torn in the torso, and chunks of flesh, torso, and what remained of his intestines spilled out like fresh spaghetti. Smaller chunks of meat had splattered against the wall and become stuck there as they dried. Globules of yellowish fat had left trails like tiny slugs as gravity pulled them down the wall, even as they dried to it.
Is it Black Santa?
Looks like no, it isn't. Looks like an explosion. Seven's voice was low and strained, or maybe it is. Just like the ninth man. The detonator in his bracelet set off the bomb in his gut. It looked as though the explosion had been quite powerful. His legs were both bent in an odd, unnatural way, and his left arm had split open, exposing the painfully white bone of his ulna. That does not sound like a good Italian dinner. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to have shattered the display, which lay on the ground in pieces. Half of his head had simply collapsed. The blood coating almost made it look like raw pizza dough covered in tomato sauce. His clothes, too, were covered in blood. The burgundy tie, the white shirt, the jacket with the yellow piping, and the gray slacks, they were all familiar to Junpei. Is that Snake? Santa's voice wavered as he spoke, his mouth dry. Oh my god. Finally, Junpei spoke. Why did this happen? No! Suddenly, June was screaming, her voice broken. It was an eerie scream full of insanity and not entirely human. No, no, no! She shook her head violently and grabbed fistfuls of her own hair. Junpei could hear the sound of her hair tearing. No! Stop it, June! He grabbed for her wrist. Snake! 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 But as he did, June leapt up and ran toward the exit.